Welcome to the Happy Market Research Podcast, your favorite place for strategies, stories, and insights from the world of market research. Brought to you by your host, Dan Fleetwood.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Happy Market Research Podcast. I am your host, Dan Fleetwood, and today I have Nick King from AutoTrader in the UK. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi Dan, lovely. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So for those who might not know too much about you, can you give a little bit of background around what your role is at AutoTrader and maybe how you entered market research and just some background would be good.
Sure, great. So I'm a consumer psychologist. I've been working in marketing and research for 39 years, and I've always been fascinated by people and technology. And I graduated a long time ago and wanted to work in marketing and advertising. I got a job as a media planner as a grad trainee 39 years ago. And through a myriad of different roles, I've now ended up as market research and insight director at AutoTrader. AutoTrader is very similar to the site you have in the US. We're a marketplace for cars. We're no relation at all, but we're completely different. We have the same name, but you beat us to it. So we are autotrader.co.uk and you have autotrader.com. That's the only similarity. But we are actually friends with the leadership in your business too. And so my role now has evolved into taking insights, taking our data, which we have masses of it, and our insights, and trying to help convert the data into value for our customers. So we have a whole load of consumers and a whole load of retailers advertising their products on our site, and a whole load of consumers coming to our site. We are an enormous site. We have nearly 10 million individuals a month, 80 million visits. And when you consider we're just the UK, which only has 66 million people, we have quite a big chunk. And quite simply, if the retailers, and we have nearly 90% of the retailers in the UK who advertise with us, if they go out of business or change, we don't have a business. So it's in our interest to help keep them in business. So we use data, research, and ideas to actually show them how the world's evolving, new trends, new things like the electric vehicle, which is a whole subject matter in itself. How do you get people to buy new cars, which are technologically difficult to get your head around? We need to help ensure they stay in business, because then we have a business. So I always go out and say, which is like a philanthropic approach.
Yeah, makes
we
sense.
Want to help you. So it's I'm also a total petrol head. So it's I get the joy of talking about cars all day. It's fantastic.
Right.
I don't get bored, so I'm very lucky.
You're living the dream. That's good.
Living the dream. No, I'm so lucky. I'm living the dream. Yeah. Well, when I joined, I used to work. I was research director at a big advertising agency, a huge group in London 20 years ago. And AutoTrader was my client. And I used to help plan the advertising spend for Diageo, who make Guinness, Coca-Cola in the UK, for Vauxhall Cars, which is General Motors, and for AutoTrader. They are actually my client. And I had them as a client for about 3 or 4 years, helping them plan their media spend and understand the future. And then one day they said to me, do you want to come and work for us? And I effectively had an interview for 3.5 years. And then I said, they said, you can talk about cars all day. I thought, wow, yeah, please. So it was almost a no-brainer. So I joined. When I joined, AutoTrader was a magazine. We were one of the first printed magazines with pictures in the UK. We used to print nearly 2 million copies a month. 2 million. When you consider the size of the UK, 2 million copies. So every week it was 500,000 copies, and they would come out on a Thursday, and there would be a magazine for each. There were 13 regions in the UK, and each region would have a magazine with specific for that area, and a photo and a description, and that was unique 30 or 40 years ago. But by the time I joined here in 2006, of course, the internet had appeared, and it was like, hang on a minute. You put a picture in a magazine on a Thursday, prints on a Thursday, everyone buys it on Thursday, all the good cars are sold on Thursday morning. Then by the following Monday, all the good cars are gone, but you can still buy the magazine for a week. So it was quite an easy transition to persuade people to go into something that can update hourly, not weekly, which was like, oh my word. Now, of course, it's within minutes, but it was still interesting trying to persuade reticent retailers that you don't need a newspaper anymore. Actually, because in the UK, we still at that point had dial-up. We just got out of dial-up. Wi-Fi hadn't really appeared yet. It was like quite a novelty, so it was quite a challenge.
Yeah. So what informed that decision? Did you use research, or was it just kind of more common sense at that point? Or
Yeah,
you're
that's a brilliant question. It was quite a brave decision because we had 500,000 copies a week and a tiny website, so it was a huge revenue coming in from our magazine weekly. We had 4,000 people working for us. We had copy collectors, people who actually on motorbikes would go out to a dealership and take Polaroid photos of the cars, then bring them back and manually load them up onto this newspaper. So we had 4,000 employees, which doesn't sound like a lot in the US, but was a lot for us,
yeah.
and a tiny website. And over the course of a year, we went down to 800 employees because we didn't need copy collectors anymore because everyone could take their own photos and email them in.
Right.
So the decision was where we saw how the world was changing. There was, of course, a lot of research into, is this viable and is this going to work? And we're now actually held up in the world as actually one of the only media companies to transition from print to digital completely and make a success of it. And that's not a very humble thing to say, but we're thankful that we have made a success of it.
Yeah.
But we haven't printed a magazine for 10, 12 years now, and people still come up to us and say, "Oh, I saw AutoTrader in the newsagent and in the newsstand." No, they didn't. They just think they did. And actually,
Makes sense.
you can't walk past any newsstand in the UK still without seeing a sticker on the side for AutoTrader, because that's where we used to advertise it, and they're still there. So what that's doing is driving brilliant brand awareness. It's amazing. It's like free advertising.
Who would have thought years later, it's still there and still driving awareness for you. So that's good. Yeah. I do remember the magazine. I'm old enough to remember that. And I remember looking in there and picking out, like, hey, I want to go check out this car and that car. And to your point, by the time I got there, they would be gone. So the move online is nice. So I'm curious, outside of being a total petrol head and working with, get to work with cars all day or in that industry, what motivates your work today? Is there anything that comes to mind there?
Yeah, well, so there's two key things that are they're completely different, but they're two ironically drivers for me in our industry. So I'm still passionate about trying to get people to buy into cars, but electric vehicles is the big one. We have in the UK in 2030, you won't be able to buy a new internal combustion engine car. All manufacturers from 2030 can only sell new electric cars, and there's a real reticence amongst everyone to buy them because they've got the myths, they've got the worries, the range anxiety, charge anxiety, the infrastructure. All they see is the problems. There's about 2.5, 3 million electric cars registered in the UK at the moment, out of 34 million. So it's a tiny percentage. So we need to try and persuade people to move. So how do we do that? We have a whole load of research, a whole big program running, which is helping us understand who the people we should go after next are and who's further away. I can talk about that in detail if you really want to, but that's the main thing is electric vehicles. But this second thing, this in our industry, in automotive, is paramount, is we're a very male-led industry. And how do we get women to feel confident buying cars? It's a massive issue. Half the population, in fact, slightly more than half the population are women, and yet we ignore them. They tend to not work in our industry and tend to be treated very badly when they go in to buy cars. And it's a sin, basically. I am a feminist. I'm not sounding like it's Puritan, but it's just ridiculous that we've got to a stage where women don't feel safe buying a vehicle. So how do we make it more female friendly? So actually, and as a result, our company, we've actually got half of our board, our main board directors are women. We're one of the only automotive industry brands. Half of them are women. Our chief operating officer is a woman. Our CEO is a man, but he or could easily be a she. So we're really trying to address that. So those are the two big things that we try to push and work for. And if we make those changes, the industry really does back us up. We seem to try to help the industry. Again, it's a philanthropic role.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, especially in this day and age. I mean, women should feel comfortable going into a dealer or anywhere and buying a car. That makes complete sense. Yeah. In terms of your expertise in the research space, I want to dive into this a little bit more and just give the listeners some tips and tricks and just your thoughts around different areas of market research. Where do you think market research needs to modernize? Does anything come to mind there?
Yeah, it's always been The believers who believe in markets research are 100% committed, and we've always got the naysayers who say, "Oh yeah, well you would say that. It's just market research, isn't it?" It's just like there's always going to be a bias when you ask someone a question. You've automatically got a bias because you've asked a question. It's not like just instant reaction. So I find my favorite form of market research still, particularly, is mystery shopping, and we do it a lot, all the time, and it drives and helps drive. Excuse the pun again. Sorry, I won't keep saying drive. That's ridiculous. It helps really show how in retail something is working. So we've been running an awards scheme for nearly 19 years, and it's for the industry. And we get consumers to look at dealer websites, retail websites, and score them on accessibility, usability, speed of response, consumer experience, all the good things. And if you're scored and you score well, and if the ones who win, it's a real prestigious award, and you get awards you can put in your physical retail outlet store and on your online presence. So it's a prestigious thing to win. And we take, of the 14,000 retailers in the country, we take the top 1,000 performing, who we know who you are, because we can see how well you perform as a retailer, and then you're mystery shopped by professionals, and they send an email request for one of your vehicles and record how you respond. And if you respond well, how you're nice and polite and all the good things, then you go through to a phone call mystery shop. Again, you're scored. And then if you score well, you go, the final 500 go through to 150 of them get a walk-in visit with a pinhole camera. So the top 1,000 are some of the best retailers in the country, but the top 150 are arguably the best. But what do we find out from this? And it's so powerful. Latest scores, and this was this year, 2025, top 1,000 retailers, 20% didn't reply to the email at all. So these are some of the best retailers who didn't even reply. And only 9%, 97 out of 1,000, said, come and see the car. Only 97. And these are the guys who will say to us, you're really expensive. You don't drive us any leads. We could do without you, but this is new. And these are some of the best retailers in the country. And when we take it even further to the walk-ins, the actual walk-in, so top 150 retailers, what was surprising was, and this is really mad, when they turned up at the dealership, only 62% of retailers introduced themselves by name. That's like me walking into your dealership and you just saying, hello, all right. You wouldn't say that. You go, hello, my name's Nick King. Welcome to Nick King Motors. Wouldn't you? These are some of the best retailers, and only half of them took an email address, and 1 in 7 didn't take any details at all. Nothing. And this is really powerful because our latest research of thousands of car buyers tell us that more than 1 in 3 people would buy a car more often if it was easier. If it was easier, people would buy more cars. And yet we are making it hard. So it's like, so I go and present this in a format to a lot of the big retail groups here and the manufacturers to show, are you sure you respond to every lead that comes in? And you can see them all pulling their collar going, well, I thought we did, blimey, don't we? It's like this kind of insight makes you go, yeah, actually, this is really easy, isn't it? Just reply to everyone who makes contact and reply nicely and be quick. I mean, in America, you are known for fantastic customer service. You build, your whole thing is about amazing customer service. Whereas in the UK, of course, we're not like that. We're a bit more like, oh, you want me to serve you? Oh, which is ridiculous. That's the British reticence. It's terrible, isn't it? It's not like, hey, how are you? Amazing attitude. I've worked in America. I've worked with American companies. They're fantastic. I love this positivity. It's all about the customer, whereas it isn't here. So that's something I like to try and change. And the ones I've worked with, some of the people I've presented these ideas to and who embrace them anyway. And it's not rocket science. It's obvious stuff. They tend to go, yeah, actually, you've just given us, it's obvious what we need to do. We knew this anyway, but thanks for reminding us. And they go off and they carry on and they're successful. And I get invited back time and time again to keep presenting this to their new starters and the new people. So they see value in it.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. Like, you can't hide from the data, right? And to your point of like them saying, "Oh, we reply to everything, and we do all this," but then the data says, "Well, 20% of the time you don't." So, what are you doing? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Nick, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face or your teams face when it comes to insights, market research? What comes to mind?
Yeah, so some of the biggest challenges is how do you convert the insight into something palatable for your audience?
Yeah.
So what we do is we tell stories. We try everyone lives in a world of stories. So storytelling is the way to get, we think, is the way to get ideas across and to land them.
Yeah.
Just going in with here's a graph, here's some numbers, here's some stats. There's got to be a so what. So what we always try and do is whatever we're presenting, say that the reason I'm telling you this is because of and it has this effect. And if you do this,
Mhm.
this could be the, and you can just see light bulbs come on when you're presenting. The challenge is trying to convert a story, trying to find the story in the data. If there
Yeah.
isn't a story, don't make it up. There's nothing worse than I've
That's
sat in
good.
over the years so many boring research debriefs where there's someone just droning through. There's a 3% delta in the uplift here and a 7% delta, and you go,
Mhm.
yeah, but what is it? So there's a 7% delta. So the delta is this. So what does that actually? Oh, so therefore the opportunity is. I think if you can always be insightful, I think
Yeah.
that's why I'm called insight director and market research director, because it's you can do market research, but then what's it actually going to tell you? What are the insights? So the
Mhm.
challenge we have is making them insightful. The other challenge is persuading reticent board members or the directors to see something awful and to see to get their buy-in, to see that it's important that we change.
Yeah.
How do you read your audience? How do you make sure that it's relevant for your audience? Is the other
Yeah.
key. Know
So
your audience.
so in that, when you're talking with, stakeholders or board members that may have like some challenge or they combat your research, what are some tactics or tips that you would give people to help overcome that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, I've always done so. What I try and do is I've always done my research. It's about
Mm.
there's three rules when buying a house, which is or a flat or apartment, which is location, location, location. All that
Yeah.
matters is where you're going to be. The three rules
Mhm.
for presenting is preparation, preparation, preparation. So I will always go in and understand as much as I can about their business and their priorities and their strategy and their threats and their competitors, so that when I'm presenting that information, I'm pretty confident that there's a reason. The other point is you don't just present numbers for the sake of it. If there's no
Yeah.
value in me showing you this, I can't persuade you to buy into something which I don't really believe in either. So I need to believe and I'm lucky. I'm lucky in my world. I'm not trying to sell refrigerators to Eskimos or something that's impossible. This is an easy sell. I
Right.
mean, you're telling someone, "I'm going to help you sell more vehicles." Okay, then how? Okay, let's look at how you respond to read calls. Let's look at how you reply. Sometimes, so when we do the mystery shopping, sometimes when I've actually physically done it myself as well, I don't know the right phrase for it, but we call them burner phones. But these are phones that don't have a SIM card, or a SIM card you just buy and you can throw them away. So you
Yeah.
buy them for like $10 or something, and you get a fake Hotmail address and do your own mystery shopping. And
Yeah.
I've done thousands over the years. Some of the responses from retailers about a car, I've sent a request for information about a car, and I record when I send it, when the response comes in, and then tell them how long they took. Some of them were just one-line responses like, "Hi, Charlie. Sorry, the car is sold. Regards, Nick." What, you haven't got any others? You don't want my bid? Really? Really?
That's a
Yes.
good point.
Yes,
But I
really.
have this other model that's similar, right? That's what it should
Yes.
be. So
Exactly. I mean, it's just like, yeah, blimey.
yeah.
So, and this is now. This isn't 20 years ago. This still happens today. People ignore it. So
Yeah.
it's really when you're presenting that kind of research back, it's like, oh, right. It's a no-brainer. So what this actually
Yeah.
did, we started doing this. We actually copied a model from Rightmove, who are an estate agent or a real estate marketplace in the UK.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
very big, similar to us, but they're just real estate. And they had a guy like me who go out to the real estaters. I don't know what you call them actually, the people who run the real estate agencies, the marketing teams, and they would do this kind of mystery shopping too. We call them estate agents in the UK, but you call them real estate. And
Yeah.
they would mystery shop them too, and they would say, "Hands up, who will respond to a hot lead within 3 hours of it coming in?" And everyone put their hand up, and they said, "Well, we mystery shopped you 3 days ago, and 50% of the room have not got back to us yet." And they were like, oh my God. And you can find out who you are if you look at your note. And there was a thing on their table and they'd hidden who they were to not to embarrass anybody. So we thought, oh, why don't we try and do that with car dealers? So I got a few dealers in a room. It took me ages to persuade them to come in. We had only four retailers, and I mystery shopped them with a burner phone. Hands up who'd get back to a lead. Oh, we all would. I said, well, I mystery shopped all of you, and three of you haven't got back to me yet. And they went, oh, blimey, that's interesting. And then I said, if you were looking for a vehicle, would you want one picture or would you want multiple pictures? And they went, oh, yeah, multiple pictures. Well, why have you only got 5 pictures of your car then? Oh, yeah. When we analyze the response to multiple images, the more images you have, the more time people spend on your site, the more impressions they click on, the more likely they are to have a lead. So the more images, the more response you're going to get. And they all sat there going, actually, this is the first time we've ever had anything concretely valuable out of AutoTrader. Thanks very much. I ended up then doing 200 sessions. I spoke to thousands of retailers across the country, little sessions like that. And that built up. Now that has turned into a channel. That is now one of our trade marketing channels. I built a team who run it with me. We are now the customer experience team, and we do I did our first ever webinar, a bit like this, but the first one we ever did was 15 years ago. We bought a little camera from what was effectively like Target here. It's Curry's. It cost 15 quid. We sat in a friend's lounge and we presented to 40 retailers around the country from home, thinking this is brilliant. I haven't got to drive hundreds of miles. And now we have a full 4K studio, effectively a TV studio in our head office, and we do, of course, webinars like everyone does, but it's amazing it's taken off.
I like that you found there was that correlation between, the number of pictures and likelihood to buy. It also probably is a correlation between number of pictures and trust, right? And getting them into the dealer and looking at it. So you mentioned mystery shopping. I'm curious if there's any other methodologies or frameworks that you like to utilize in your day-to-day research.
Yeah, so we have eye tracking studios too. We do a lot of UX.
Oh, cool.
So and we've had companies in to actually help them. We do their UX for them too. So there's nothing more powerful than sitting behind the screen with this one classic story. I won't name the company, but it was a manufacturer, German, but I won't say who they are. And they were sat watching us, and they said they built the site, and and the question was, now look for I won't say who it is because it's not fair on them, but it's a very well-known car. Now find the car on our site. And they watched, and as this poor woman struggled to find I don't know where to go. And they were going, it's obvious, we built it, it's really clear. And the user eye tracking was saying, look, it's not really clear. It's really not clear. You think it is because you built it.
Yep.
So for UX, I love working with UX, and I love working with that to prove and show and make life easier. Ultimately, all I really want to do is help make it easier for people to do what they want to do, which sounds
that makes sense.
That's what I want to do, really. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we're all here, right? Doing research is to make buying decisions easier, make things easier for people. So
that's right.
Makes sense. In terms of like a belief that you hold that more people should understand, does anything come to mind there?
Yeah, I think it's authentic or an authenticity. If you can come across as being authentic, then people automatically buy into you and buy into what you're trying to say. And that's always been I tried to have it as my mantra that I won't make anything up to sell you something. If there's data involved, it's from a verifiable source. I think authenticity comes across, and if you present with stories and you make the data sound like it's relevant to your audience, then you come across as authentic. And I think authenticity is especially in today's untrustworthy world. It's personally at the moment, or not personally, but professionally at the moment, we've just launched a product for some of our customers. It's an amazing product, but we launched it badly, and it's gone down like a lead balloon. It's not surprising because we launched it badly, and we're sort of backtracking, and we hope it'll be okay because the product is fine. It feels like for every retailer who's advertising with us, everything has changed, but nothing has. We've just enhanced it, but we didn't promote it like that. It's an enhancement to an existing very cool product, but we promoted it as something new, and everything's changing. And we're in the middle of a backlash, which is understandable because for many people, we are their marketing department.
Right.
We are completely. They don't advertise anywhere else because we get so much traffic. So when we change things, the other thing that's important is to incrementally change. The word agile. We all live in an agile world now, but we didn't used to. When I joined, we're engineers and brilliant programmers would sit and work on something for months and then launch the whole thing, and the whole site would change the next day, and everyone would go, "Oh, what have you done? You've ruined our site. I can't find anything anymore."
Yep.
And now we do A/B testing like everyone. We didn't used to do A/B testing, and it's so obvious, but now we do it. And that's my other favorite thing is actually A/B testing. I love it because you never know you're there and you're trying things, and it's a wonderful way of testing without damaging your reputation. And you can try. And I know Amazon do this. They do something. Do you know the stats for Amazon for A/B testing? They do something like 50 tests a minute or something ridiculous, like unbelievable, because they're so big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the stat, but I know even companies like Facebook have, hundreds of different versions of Facebook. There could be slight tweaks to the UI or the experience, but the version that you're seeing and I'm seeing are probably different because they're always testing things out. So I have heard that quite a bit. In terms of, I'm curious around, misconception you think people have about research, or kind of dovetailing into what leaders get wrong about insights. I know you kind of spoke about it earlier where some board members or some leaders maybe they don't like the results. So maybe that's one thing that might be a whole other topic, but any misconceptions or things you think that leaders might get wrong about insights?
Yeah, well, one of them is regularly said to me, well, that's just a small sample. That's not representative of the populace. That's just a small sample. But I'm not a statistician, but I have been doing research for a long time, and I know that you don't need to ask the whole world to get a representative sample. And that's always that's only 400 people. Yeah, but 400 people is robust. That's all in the UK. That's all you need to do to get in a certain market to get a kind of robust sample. So sample size is always an issue. The main kickback I get all the time is the fact that research is flawed, because by asking the question, you've already planted a seed in someone's head about the answer. So it's always flawed because it's not a natural open response, which of course it's like when thinking about banking, which brand first comes to mind is like, oh, I'm thinking about banking. Okay, right. So that's the classic failure with market research, because you're automatically convincing someone to think of something, which is why I like the mystery shopping. So I think we do walk-in research as well. We stand outside a retailer and ask them where. But the other issue is, you say you ask someone today, where did you see the advert which drove you to this store? And automatically people say Google. No. You use Google. That just might be your home screen. But no, I was on Google.
Right.
Were you really? Are you sure that's the only place you saw? So no wonder Google was so impressed with their performance, thinking they are the be all and end all. And of course they're wonderful, but they're not the be all and end all. Some people will go direct to the site, but they can't remember that they did, because you just start to type. And now you go onto your browser and you just start to type in the beginnings of words, and it will automatically fill it because you were there last time.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Did Google drive you there? Was it the browser that drove you there? So it's finding the truth really is hard if you really want to find the truth. And when you
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're trying to get, how many visitors come to a site, and you use a site like ComScore, which I don't know if you're aware of ComScore, but they track through a panel. But it's a panel you have to opt into. So it's only a panel. It's not everybody, but it's still a panel, but it is representative. And but then it gives you a view of everybody. So actually, yes, this tool tells us where we sit amongst the rest of the world. And it's it's not the same for us, it's the same for everyone else too.
Right.
It's a version of the truth. It's a version of the truth. The real proof we have is actually here's something that really annoys me, is that people say they don't watch TV anymore. No one watches TV. They just watch Netflix. No, I don't watch TV. I don't watch TV. Well, when we run a campaign on commercial TV here, which has adverts which play in the breaks, surprise, surprise, the minute they're on, traffic goes up, but no one watches TV. Yes, they do. They must do.
Mhm.
They must do, because traffic, we can track our own traffic. You can see the spikes. So
Yep.
yeah.
People watch TV still. I know, and same thing. I feel like with radio too. There's still a lot of people listen to radio in their car, where people
Mm.
say, radio's dead. I don't
No,
believe that at
I
all.
always do. I'm old. You're not old, but I'm old. I do. I just we have nice, serious. We have Radio 4 in the UK, which is basically factual programs. It's really nice, and I do long journeys. I like listening to discussions and stuff. So yeah, people do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of misnomers and lots of research is always faked, and research is false. And you made me say this, but we still use it though. And I think the big misnomer is to try and do something without any research.
Mm.
Just have an idea and run with it. Well, actually, are you sure there's a market for it? Are you sure that's what someone needs? Some of the best products we've ever come up with are on the back of asking our audience, what do you want? Funny that, isn't it? We had a load of retailers come into a room and said,
Yeah.
right, imagine you were CEO for AutoTrader. What would you do next? And one of them said, oh, well, I will come up with X, Y, Z. And you go, oh, why do you? Okay, good. So then we come up with X, Y, Z, and they go, great, thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy. It takes doing to actually ask, but ask the question, ask and listen. You have one mouth, two ears. So listen, don't talk.
Yeah. I like to say that to my kids too. That's a good one. Well, Nick, as we start to wrap up, I do have to ask you a question around, I'm curious around, consumer behavior is shifting obviously in the auto industry. And you had mentioned that, it's shifting towards EV with some of the government mandates probably. I'm curious around, are you doing research around buying behavior for EVs and what would help out that buying path? Or maybe if you can talk a little bit through the research lens of what you're doing to get people to, or just maybe finding out about EV buyers and so forth. So
yeah, so the big challenge for us, and you won't have this in your country, is we have a lot of Chinese entrant. We have a lot of Chinese brands coming. I know they're not coming to America for obvious reasons, but they are all coming here. So in 2019, there were 45 brands you could choose from as a buyer, 45 brands. Today, there's 70. Next year, there's going to be 80, just in the UK. Wow. And the majority of those are from Asia, and they're Chinese. Now, the big issue is, do you trust a Chinese brand? So if you're over 45, well, I grew up in the 70s, and in the 70s, made in China was a byword for it's not very good quality. It's made in China. You don't want to buy it. But now that's not the same. We asked 4,000 people recently, a big mix of all ages, so statistically robust sample. Do you trust Chinese brands? And they do. And if you're under 35, you absolutely trust them, because your iPhone is made in China. Your Mac is made in China. It's like, oh yeah, the battery in your iPhone is a BYD, which is the biggest battery manufacturer in the world practically. So they have no qualm with buying a Chinese brand. And that's really bad news for the existing manufacturers, because in the UK, these are some mad stats. In the UK, Hyundai took 24 years to get to 1% market share, because they were from South Korea. No one had heard of them. Quite bland products, good warranties, but took 24 years. Kia, which is the same company as Hyundai, they launched a few years later. It only took them 17 years to get to 1% market share. Tesla got to 1% market share in the UK in 7 years, which was really quick. And we all said, wow, that's quick. BYD have got to 1% market share in 2 years, and JACU in 1 year. There's a brand here from China called JACU, and you keep seeing them driving around. They got to 1% in 1 year. They are obviously buying their way in, but what they're doing is they're coming in with vehicles which are really good value. They look like a Range Rover, so they look really nice. They're not quite as good quality, but they're really nice. Loads of tech, and guess who's buying them? All the 35-year-olds. All the 35-year-old mums and dads and moms and pops with their kids, because it's a good family car, because they're good value, they got loads of tech, and they don't care about the bias that Chinese quality is no good. They're cool cars. So there's a huge. So what's that going to do to all the existing legacy brands that have been here for years, who are slowly seeing their market share diminish? So we're doing continuous research into, what do people think about the Chinese brands? Do you trust them? Are you ready for them? What's the threat? How often are you going to change your vehicles? And we present this to anyone who wants to listen, really. And a lot of the manufacturers, the existing legacy ones, are talking to us saying, tell us, what do we need to know? What do we need to do? Because we know that we understand the consumer. because we have so many on our site, way more
that's
than
a good point.
brand sites, thousands, millions more than the brand sites themselves. We get 10 million consumers effectively every month. So we use that. The other key thing we can do is on our site, and we don't have zip codes in the UK, we have postcodes. And your postcode in the UK defines 7 houses on one side of a road. And when you search on AutoTrader, the first thing you do is you put your postcode in. So we then show you vehicles that are relevant to your local area. But we now know where you're looking. And there's lots of demographic data behind that. We've got some mosaic data, some acorn data. So we've got like social status and average income and household size and what your kind of industry you're working in based on that postcode. But we also know now what you're looking for. And we can see where people are looking for electric vehicles in the UK. And we can spot the hotspots. And then we take this data to the government. So we actually present it to number 10 to our government and show them where the interesting points are for electric vehicles and where they're not. So they can start to think where we should be putting charging stations. So it's actually a really valuable product. There's no benefit to us apart from it helps people buy cars and continue driving, but we're actually going out to the government now, and they now see us as an insightful advisor. And we never used to have that before. So our research has got just the leg. So, and what that does for your credibility, we're now we're on the FTSE 100. We're like your Nasdaq. We're on the FTSE 100. We have shareholders, and we're seen as a very successful company. All of this helps with your credibility.
Yeah, so 100%.
The research really is. I'm not bigging myself up because I'm not the only person in research, but it's pretty big. So it's like I'm proud to be part of the research and insight team.
Yeah, as you should be. As you should be. Well, Nick, this has been great. If people want to find out more about you, maybe follow your work, is there any place you want to point them to?
Oh, I'm on LinkedIn. If you find me on LinkedIn, there's I'm posting on that a lot, and I present at a lot of conferences. And you always see photos of me on stage somewhere looking awful. I wish I looked like Brad Pitt, and I don't. It's really annoying.
I think maybe we all wish for that.
Who doesn't do it?
Well, awesome, Nick. Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure. Good to see you, Dan. All the best.
Awesome. Hey, everyone.
Cheers.
So thanks so much for listening today. And if you like this, be sure to like, subscribe, comment on whatever platform you are listening or watching this on, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. See you later.